Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mortuary. I am the Mortician. And today, I have an album review for Waking the Cadaver's Perverse Recollections of a Necromangler. Now, I've reviewed my fair share of albums. You know, like I've done quite, I not on this channel necessarily, but I've reviewed enough albums in my life. Like, I know how I feel about albums, you know, because I like to take notes on things. This is the most fucking notes I think I've ever had for one of these videos, at least. There is so much fucking shit here. I was just gonna go like song by song, but really, once I tried to do one take, and I realized every song can be summed up the same way. So there's like all these notes here, but they're almost repetitious because the whole fucking album is just the same song every time. Let me explain. So we'll start out with the intro, right? So the intro is actually really badass. I kind of like the intro. The intro is like the sounds of war or slaughter in the background of like heavy rain. It sounds really cool. It gets you pumped for the record. You know what I'm saying? And you think it's going to be like a great death metal album or something like that. It's really, really cool. And then the first song starts playing. These vocals have got to be one of the worst, if not the worst vocals I think I've ever heard. It's like if a cat had a hairball and it was made of razor wire and it just that's exactly what this fucking guy sounds like. A little bit deeper than that. But essentially that's what it sounds like. It's fucking terrible. It immediately made me laugh because I couldn't believe that someone had to hear a vocal style like that, like, and actually sign off on it. You know, like the band was like, yeah, that sounds good. The producer didn't try to talk them out of it. You know, like there's so many steps that probably happened in between them going to the studio and everyone was like, yeah, that sounds good, do that shit. I cannot actually believe someone let a full-grown man go in there and embarrass himself like this. Because it's fucking amazing how bad it is. I guess we have to talk about the guitar tone. Because the guitar tone, you're like, oh. You know, like, by that, you're probably thinking, like, before we get into the guitar tone, I just want to say that this is supposed to be like a slam, deathcore kind of hybrid, I guess. Like slamcore, although I'm pretty sure bands like, because I think Within Destruction counts themselves as slamming deathcore, and I really like them, but I don't think that's what this is. This is definitely some other animal, because this is really bad. And it actually is almost the foundation is almost like the guitar. Like, the vocals I could probably get behind because they're so, like, funny and outlandish that maybe I could look past them if everything else is okay. This guitar tone is so thin and scratchy. I don't know how they mixed it like this. Like, what I think happened was they walked into the studio. The guitarist put all his, he cranked his high knob. He has his tone to 10. He's got like some kind of like shitty ass fucking like dollar store pedal or something. He cranks the highs on that. And then he goes to the producer, like put the highs up. Because it's so fucking scratchy. There's no bass or like, there's no dimension to it. It's a flat, high ass fucking guitar. It sounds like shit. It sounds like it. Let me paint you a mental picture, because this is the mental picture I have. So imagine if I like tied a fork, right, to a fan, all right, and I put a cookie sheet right underneath that fan, And every time it scrapes across, it's like, it's fucking awful. It's one of the worst fucking guitar tones ever, especially for a genre like this. Like, if you're talking slam, or you're talking even deathcore or something, like, usually the way you'd want to mix that is you want to have a lot of balls to the guitar. You really want to you want to scoop the mids a bit, and you really want that to preserve that low end. Because once you go into a breakdown, which we're going to get into breakdown soon, but once you go into a breakdown, you really want to have that to just, knock people in the face with. The guitarist doesn't do that. This shitty guitar tone, this thin, pathetic excuse for a guitar tone, is throughout the entire record. And it's fucking, it's atrocious. So he does pinch harmonics. Like, the first song starts playing, the instrumentation's okay, blah, 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 blah. And there's a pre-breakdown right here. I have the notes. I'm looking through the notes. And he does this fucking pinch harmonic thing. And I was actually sat back in awe. I had to make sure it was the first song because pretty much all of these songs blend together, by the way. Like, I couldn't tell you which song is which unless I had my notes here, which is why they're up. But those fucking pinch harmonics were fucking grating. Like, they were really bad because, once again, the guitar tone's really fucking scratchy and really high and whatnot. Heavy-handed with the highs, I should say, honestly. And it just fucking grates. Every time this guy does tremolo picking, which, by the way, tremolo picking is giving this guy way too much credit. But it's fucking abysmal. Everything that this guy does with this fucking instrument is a fucking murder. It's amazing he's allowed to actually use this thing. So then we're going into the drums. The drum sound is okay. Like, it's pretty standard. Except there's this one part in song 2. And the note that I have here for this, some pretty neat slams, blah, 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 which, yeah, there is some neat slams, mostly there's like 2 songs that have some okay slams. This is the second song. And then I wrote, then a pissed off drunkard storms the studio and starts abusing his keg for being empty. Because just out of nowhere, you have this standard sound, and then out of nowhere, there's this keg sound. Like, I'm like sitting there like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? Why is this here? Because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make the song any harder or better. In fact, it makes it worse because I'm like, why are you doing this? There's no point in changing the fucking snare. It's fucking terrible. And not only that, like I said, the drums are pretty standard tone-wise, but the drums just don't seem in time consistently. It seems like sometimes it's just off a little bit with the guitars and the vocals. It just seems wrong in some instances, and even the guitars do this too, where the guitars and the drums and the vocals don't seem to be doing the same thing, and they're almost like in 3 different bands on 3 different fucking planets. It's... So, let's get into further into the breakdowns. So the breakdowns are basically standard. There's nothing I haven't heard from like Chelsea Grin or like Immure or any of these other bands. It's really standard. It's fucking boring. And it doesn't do anything. And most of the fucking time, this vocalist is doing the fucking thing like he's choking on a dick in the studio. It's just fucking incredible that anyone actually wrote off on this. And then you get to the interlude. The interlude is by far the best / worst thing about this thing, because it kind of sums up the entire album perfectly. And that is them just smoking a bunch of weed and then fucking off to make this album. I shit you not. The interlude is them fucking smoking a bong. Like, that's all you need. Like, it was just some retards who got together and decided to make some shitty subpar album and didn't even fucking try. Like, really? Like, seriously? Oh my god. It's a clusterfuck. Like, honestly, no matter what I say about it, you just have to experience it for yourself. It's one of those things where I could sit here and tell you everything wrong with it, which I pretty much have, but you have to experience it for yourself. This is one of those things you have to see for your fucking self to actually believe, because there are no words in the English language to properly put how fucking garbage this is. 2 out of 10.